Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll discuss how to create a group structure to protect you and your businesses. If you're new to the channel, I'm Zoppi, an English qualified solicitor, and this video is broken down into two main sections. In the first very short section, we'll discuss the main principles that are fundamental to the idea of a group structure, and then we'll move on to the second section of the video, which is a step-by-step guide where I'll share my screen so you can see exactly what needs to be done. And I'll also link in the description below free documents and templates that you can use to get started. Make sure to watch the video until the end to receive an expert tip on how to properly protect your company's most valuable asset, its brand, using a group structure. Okay, so firstly, what is a group structure? A group structure, put simply, is a group of companies that are interconnected. So usually you have a holding co at the top, a holding company, and then subsidiaries that are wholly owned, completely owned by the holding company. Okay, so what are the advantages of a group structure? The main advantage is to separate risk. So you have different companies that do different things. For example, you might want to have a trading company, let's call it HoldingCo, that deals directly with customers and clients. And separately, you might want to have the HoldingCo that takes on most of the profits. Now, the reason why group structures and private companies work very well is because they have what is referred to as a separate legal personality. So human beings like you and I, under the law in the UK, are recognized as natural persons. But a limited company is recognized as a legal person. And as any other person, it can enter into contracts and it can take on loans. Fantastic. Let's now move on to the second section of the video, which is a step-by-step guide to how to create a group structure. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen here. And as you can see, we have 7 main steps that we need to follow, starting with step number 1, which is to make sure that you have all the necessary details at hand. To make this as easy as possible, I've created document A, again linked in the description below. And this is what it looks like. There are just 5 main questions for you to at least get started. Once you have this information, we can move on to step number 2, which is to check that your chosen name for each of the companies that you want to set up is actually suitable for use. To make this as easy as possible, I've linked 3 main pages here. Number 1, these are the guidelines by Companies House to tell you which companies are actually acceptable for them. For example, it's not acceptable to make yourself seem as if you are a government body. Then the second link is the UK Intellectual Property Office, where you will want to conduct a trademark search to make sure that the chosen name hasn't been already registered by someone else. And lastly, you'll want to check Companies House to make sure that no other company has already been registered with the name that you want to use. Amazing. So once you've done that, we can move on to step number 3, which is to go on Companies House and register your private limited company. This is what it looks like. And we can now click on Register Now, start a new application, and complete the questionnaire with your relevant information. Document A, which you will have hopefully completed, will be very useful in completing the questionnaire on Companies House. So that was step number 4 just now. And ideally, you want to start out by registering your holding company first. The reason why you want to register your holding company first is because as you register the other subsidiaries as part of the group structure, Companies House will ask you if these new companies are part of a group. And if you answer yes, and that can be useful for tax purposes, then Companies House will ask for the holding company's company number. And you only get the company number for the holding company once you receive a certificate of incorporation. And that usually takes between 24 to 48 hours from the moment that you've submitted the application with Companies House. And that is why you need to start with a holding company, get that company number, and then move on with registering the subsidiaries. Fantastic. Coming back to the step-by-step guide, we can now move on to step number 5, which is, once you have the holding company's company number, register each subsidiary to create your group structure. Step number 6 just reminds you of what we've just discussed, which is when you're creating the subsidiaries and issuing shares as part of the setting up of this new company, make sure to issue the shares to your holding company. Before we move on to discussing how to protect your company's most valuable asset, the brand, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This is because you will continue to receive clear, actionable, and pragmatic legal information and templates. Great, now let's move on to step number 7, which is to create a separate subsidiary in the group structure that only holds intellectual property, ideally the trademarks. So first, you'll want to register a separate limited company, let's call it IPCo, for intellectual property company. Then we'll want to transfer any existing registered trademarks from whatever company into IPCo. And for this, you'll need a trademark assignment agreement and make sure that it is actually legally binding. Also, just a note, I understand that not everyone might have already registered their trademarks. So if you haven't, I will link at the end of this video another video that tells you exactly step by step how to register a trademark in the UK. And once you've done that, we can move on to the last step, which is to put in place a trademark license agreement between IPCo and your trading subsidiary, which we will refer to as HoldingCo. Now, the reason why we're separating trademarks from the HoldingCo and instead putting them into IPCo is because HoldingCo carries the most risk. HoldingCo is a company that deals with clients and customers. And clients and customers can be quite litigious, and they might bring a claim against HoldingCo. And the last thing that you want to do is lose your rights to your brand, because you can get rid of your HoldingCo and start a new one using the same brand, benefiting from the same goodwill that you've built up. But it's a lot harder to do so if the trademarks are held in HoldingCo. Once you have that trademark license agreement between IPCo and HoldingCo, HoldingCo will pay a license fee to IPCo for the use of the trademarks, and then, if you want, IPCo pays dividends to HoldingCo. Now, as promised, if you want to learn about how to register a trademark so that you can implement this group structure that also protects intellectual property, watch this video right here. Thank you for watching, and if you want a professionally drafted contract such as a trademark assignment agreement or a trademark license agreement to make sure that it is legally binding, reach out to us via the website linked in the description below.